Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 1, The First Step of God Realization. And today we're doing Chapter 16. Verse 16, I'm sorry. So Canto 2, Chapter 1, Text 16. All right, without further ado, I'll start the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Givadadari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Givadadari Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadari Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Privajikacharya Astotra Satasisi Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramhansa Privajikacharya Astotra Satasisi Maharaj Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Anant Koti Vaishnav Vindi ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, ISKCON founder Charya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Singh Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Mathura Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Jagannath Swami ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktavinda ki jai. Jai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glory Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Swami Nityananda. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Chitatana. Shri Guru Karuna Shakti Bhakti. Narayana Namaskritya Narom Chaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Gurirayat Nashta Prayesva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhavatu Tamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So the text from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, in text 16. Grihat Pravrajito Tira Punyateta Jalapluta Shucha Vivikta Asino Vividvat Kalpita Sani Grihat Pavrajito Dhira Punyateta Jalapluta Shucha Vivikta Asino Vividvat Kalpita Sani Grihat Pavrajito Dhira Punyateta Jalapluta Shucha Vivikta Asino Vividvat Kalpitasani. Hare Krishna. Anyone who wants to chant, you can unmute yourself and chant.
गृहात् प्रव्रजितो धीर पुण्यतीर्थजलाप्लुतः शुचौ विविक्त आसीनो विधिवत् कल्पितासने.
Jai, Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right, word for word. Grihat, from one's home. Pravrajita, having gone out. Dhira, self-controlled. Punya, pious. Tirtha, sacred place. Jala apluta, fully washed. Shucho, cleansed. Vivike, solitary. Asina, seated. Vividvat, according to regulations. Kalpita, having done. Asane, on a sitting place. Translation by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. One should leave home and practice self-control. In a sacred place, he should bathe regularly and sit down in a lonely place duly sanctified. Report by Srila Prabhupada. To prepare oneself for the better next life, one must get out of one's so-called home. The system of Varnashram Dharma or Sanatan Dharma prescribes retirement from family encumbrances as early as possible after one has passed 50 years of age. Modern civilization is based on family comforts, the highest standard of amenities, and therefore, after retirement, everyone expects to live a very comfortable life in a well-furnished home decorated with fine ladies and children without any desire to get out of such a comfortable home. High government officers and ministers stick to their prized posts until death, and they neither dream nor desire to get out of homely comforts. Bound by such hallucinations, materialistic men prepare various plans for a still more comfortable life. But suddenly, cruel death comes without mercy and takes away the great plant maker against his desire, forcing him to give up the present body for another body. Such a plant maker is thus forced to accept another body in one of the 8,400,000 species of life, according to the fruits of the work that he has performed. In the next life, persons who are too much attached to family comforts are generally awarded lower species of life on account of sinful acts performed during a long duration of sinful life, and thus all the energy of human life is spoiled. In order to be saved from the danger of spoiling the human form of life and being attached to unreal things, one must take warning of death at the age of 50, if not earlier. The principle is that one should take it for granted that the death warning is already there, even prior to the attainment of 50 years of age, and thus at any stage of life, one should prepare himself for a better next life. The system of the Sanatana Dharma institution is so made that the follower is trained for the better next life without any chance that the human life will be spoiled. The holy places all over the world are meant for the residential purposes of retired persons getting ready for a better next life. Intelligent persons must go there at the end of life, and for that matter, after 50 years of age, to live a life of spiritual regeneration for the sake of being freed from family attachment, which is considered to be a shackle of material life. One is recommended to quit home just to get rid of material attachment because one who sticks to family life until death cannot get rid of material attachment. As long as one is materially attached, one cannot understand spiritual freedom. One should not, however, become self-complacent simply by leaving home or by creating another home at the holy place, either lawfully or unlawfully. Many persons leave home and go to such holy places, but due to bad association, again become family men by illicit connection with the opposite sex. The illusory energy of matter is so strong that one is apt to be under such illusion at every stage of life, even after quitting one's happy home. Therefore, it is essential that one practice self-control by celibacy without the least desire for sex indulgence. For a man desiring to improve the condition of his existence, sex indulgence is considered suicidal or even worse. Therefore, to live apart from family life means to become self-controlled in regard to all sense desires, especially sex desires. The method is that one should have a duly sanctified sitting place made of straw, deerskin, and carpet, and thus sitting on it, one should chant the holy name of the Lord without offense, as prescribed above. The whole process is to drive the mind from material engagements and fix it onto the lotus feet, on the lotus feet of the Lord. The simple process alone will help one advance to the highest stage of spiritual success. Oma Ginati Vidandasya, Gyana Gana Shalakaya, Chakshu Umlitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Peshnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pasyatya Deshachayani. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gurachase Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare
Hare
Rama,
Ram,
Ram
Ram Ram.
Ram, Hare Hare. English translation again. Once you leave home and practice self-control, in a sacred place, you should bathe regularly and sit down in a lonely place duly sanctified. Hare Krishna. So Shukadeva Goswami is describing to Maharaj Pariksit what a person should do when they're getting ready to leave the body. So at the older age, this is at the minds of everyone, especially after 50 years. You know, death is around the corner. Some people think about it and some people do not. Fortunately, for this society, this is brought up as a subject for discussion because, one, we know that life is temporary. Two, we also know that if we don't live life properly like human beings are supposed to, we stand a chance of coming back to the material world to continue another miserable life, or worse, not even get a human body and get a body that's non-human, which means automatically another lifetime is going to be spent here because those in non-human bodies don't go back to the spiritual world. The dogs, I mean, the animals, and the aquatics and the trees and the insects and the birds, they don't go back to the spiritual world unless it's a very rare situation where a very high level devotee may arrange for that to happen, like Lord Chaitanya allowed a dog to go back to the spiritual world. So that's very, very rare. But only those in human bodies have the intelligence. Therefore, hearing is extremely important because that's where we get reminded of what we need to do. Now, the text before this one talked about not fearing death. As a matter of fact, if we take Krishna consciousness seriously, we would realize that we are guided and protected in many situations, practically in all situations. So then the common sense says, if I'm protected, what's there to fear? So even up to the point of death, Sukadeva Goswami says we should not be fearful. We shouldn't be fearful of the death process itself because when we are devotees practicing bhakti yoga, then death is not a horrible sentence on us. Death is actually Krishna coming to take us back home, back to the spiritual world. And when a devotee remembers it that way, then death, although some parts of it may be painful, but painful for the spirit, I mean the physical body, never the soul. It may be painful, but a lot of things are painful anyway before even death comes. Those who've had children, they can tell you in labor time how painful that can be. So these pains, that's the here. And the important thing is to focus on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But there's more to it, which we'll talk about a little later. Think more to it in terms of what devotees can also do for the person that is leaving the physical body and hopefully leaving the material world. So this is a part of Srimad Bhagavatam where Shukadeva Goswami is discussing preparation for the next life. He says first that, Srila Prabhupada has also talked about it in many lectures, that for a human being, the concern should be, what is my next life going to be? Non-human bodies don't think that way. They don't have that kind of intelligence. The 8 million types of other bodies, when the soul goes in there, that thought doesn't come up. But human bodies can think that way if we're not behaving like animals. And to that extent, Srila Prabhupada quotes a lot from a 10th canto, I think it's the 84th chapter and verse 13. Yashatma buddhi kunape tritatuke swadi karta dishuboma ischadi yatet buddhi salile nakachit janeshu abigeshu saiva gokara. He says the conditions here, the translation, It's that a person, Yashatma Buddhi Kunapeti Dhatuke, a person who thinks that this physical body, which has three dhatus, Kapavita Vayu, mucus, bile, and air, is actually him or her. Hmm? Fadi Kalata Dishiboma Ichadi. That the family members are extension of him, and that the country that he comes from is worshipable. In other words, they're looking at material things, their country, their bodies, the extension of their bodies, the family members, and so on. The Tirtha Buddhi Salile Nakaichi. Salile is water. Those who go to holy pilgrimages, not to get information about the place, to hear the spiritual significance of the place from those who know and who are residents there. But they just go, well, I'm going to a holy pilgrimage place, and then there's the holy river, and I'll bathe in it, and after I bathe in it, and my business is done. It is better to hear about that holy place from those who know. And so those who don't do that, that person is no better than go, cow, or kara, donkey. So spiritual life is actually meant for the opposite way of living. And so when we leave, we also have to leave according to what Shukadeva Goswami has described. And Srila Prabhupada talks at length about what should be done and what should not be done, what people are doing and what they shouldn't be doing. So in the translation, Shukadeva Goswami says, one should leave home and practice self-control. And in a sacred place, he should bathe regularly and sit down in a lonely place, duly sanctified. So let's look at the purport of Srila Prabhupada has written. To prepare oneself for the better next life, one must get out of one's so-called home. First of all, we don't have permanent home. The spiritual world is the permanent place. If we have a permanent home, that's in the spiritual world. What we have here is temporary. The bodies are temporary. The planet itself will be either destroyed at some point or go into the body of Mahavishnu. Nothing is deemed permanent here. And the physical body that we have will also fall apart. This is what we're talking about now. For the next life, we should prepare. And that the system of Anasham Dharma or its eternal religion, Sanatana Dharma, it's built in such that a person does some when it gets to the retirement time, that they can in fact focus more on spiritual life and less on material responsibilities. Family encumbrances. Vanaprastha time is when the couple's children are grown and they can be on their own. Therefore, raising children then stops. So then the husband and wife at that age can, in fact, focus more on the real reason for being in a human body, getting out, the opportunity that's there, the escape body that we have, taking that opportunity and taking spiritual life seriously so we can go back home. So this is a very, very important and serious time. Kali Yuga is getting worse and worse and worse. Therefore, taking shelter of the holy name becomes even more important. The Srila Prabhupada says, in modern civilization, people are more focused on family comforts, higher standard of amenities. Therefore, after retirement, everyone expects to live a comfortable life, well-furnished home, children, wife, husband, and we don't think about getting out of such a comfortable home. Part of the reason is that the material life itself is difficult. In Kali Yuga, life generally becomes more difficult. And since the soul tends to go for things that are nice, the soul likes ananda. It's in the nature of the soul, happiness. So then happiness is sometimes connected to family comforts, material comforts. People try to go for those things. And to leave it and to go somewhere else, then it becomes a struggle in the minds of people. Why should we be that way? Well, actually, what is the most important thing is for devotees to not only hear and chant, they also have to perform devotional service. This is very, very, very important, more so than anything else. The performance of that which calls the sadhana and the seva, those two are very important in our lives, in whatever situation that we're in. Yes, retirement, we should stay away from material things, but in some exceptions, and they're not uncommon, in some exceptions, that is, sometimes some people don't actually live to a ripe old age before leaving their bodies. We can leave the body at any time. Therefore, somebody may leave the body when they're not retired yet. And in that situation, how does a person go back to Godhead? They have to be seriously engaged in devotional service, hearing and chanting the holy name of the Lord, and also performing service and taking advantage of every opportunity that comes at home or in the temple, especially in the temple, since the temple's business is 100% Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada defines the temples as embassies of the spiritual world. Embassies, because the business of an embassy is to deal with, there's a relation to the country the embassy is in, but the embassy itself represents that country. Not the country is that the building, the embassy building itself is in, but the country that it comes from. For example, there can be an embassy of India in America. So they deal with Indian affairs, but the embassy itself, the building, is in America. So the temple is actually a place where we're dealing with Krishna's affairs, just like it is in the spiritual world, or at least close to it. And God is there in deity form. And so the matter is totally 100% Krishna centered. Krishna's senses are being satisfied there, just like Krishna's senses are satisfied in the spiritual world, although the building itself is in the material world. Therefore, the temples are embassies, as Srila Prabhupada defines it that way, embassies of the spiritual world. So when you enter that, you literally enter the spiritual world. It just depends on the person's consciousness. Every part, Krishna is there. And so when we serve there, then we are also telling Krishna's agents that I'm ready to serve in the spiritual world. And that goes in, it's to our advantage. So take advantage of every time you go to any temple, not just the temple you go regularly, that too, but when you visit any temple, try to serve there. That way, and Krishna knows that wherever you are in this material world, you're thinking about service. That is much, 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 much higher than some of the requirements that are given that we have to be about. And Srila Prabhupada, of course, the spiritual master's mercy is always there. So we'll talk about some of those things Srila Prabhupada said. One, for Grihastha life. When a Grihastha couple is living in such a way that they obey the regulative principles and they serve devotionally Krishna, they serve the devotees, they serve the spiritual master, they are also living a life which is close to the thought process of a sannyasi. This is just paraphrasing how Srila Prabhupada put it. Therefore, if we have a family where, as parents, we have tried our level best to make all of the residents in the house devotees, that means our children, devotees, then we literally have sanctified the entire house. Mm. Srila Prabhupada does not require us as devotees, as grihastas, then to go all the way up to sannyas. He says, when we get to that age where the children are older, then we should take Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha is definitely required. Mm. Spend more time doing only Krishna conscious stuff because our regular um, responsibilities materially are now down because a good bit of it is about raising the children. And now we're not doing that anymore. Mm-hmm. So then the time that's there should be used to serve the Lord, to remember the Lord, to chant his holy name, to read, to preach, to do other kinds of services as we find that we're able to do. Mm-hmm. So the modern civilization is this way. Even if we have those, we should never be attached to those because that would be a situation where we'll get too much attached and then we're thinking about it. Even at the time we're leaving our bodies, we're thinking about those things. And then now we're going to be, sometimes it gets very bad. The devotees probably won't go through that because of chanting and because of the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. But sometimes some people who are very much attached to their house, they come back as an insect in the house, that same house. They're allowed to come back in that same house, but not even given a material body that is human. Srila Prabhupada says that next life, persons who are too much attached to family comforts are generally awarded lower species of life on account of sinful acts performed during a long duration of sinful life. Living as a devotee takes us away from sinful life. When we obey the regulated principles, we're not going to be doing things sinful. So then, Srila Prabhupada, of course, is writing for everybody. So he says persons, he didn't say devotees, he says persons generally now who are attached to family comfort, the house, the car, and so on. Oh, I'm leaving it, I'm dying, my dog, this, all of those things you're thinking about. Then there's too much attachment, so then an arrangement is made to come back. Sinful life. Human life is spoiled. So in order to be saved from the danger of that, we must take warning that death can come at any time, especially at the age of 50. Why? Because at that time, the body starts breaking down. It's more obvious that the body is breaking down. The body actually starts breaking down sooner than 50. But it is more obvious that there's some things that we used to be able to do physically, we won't be able to do at that time. We won't be able to do when we're 50 years old. We realize that some things just have to take, take a back seat, in the manner of speaking. So Srila Prabhupada even tells us that we should take it for granted that the death warning is already there. Actually, when a person is born, they're beginning to head close to death. Right from baby time, we get close to death. And sometimes we say close to because 100 years is not long at all. So once we are in that body, that type of life should be, that type of life that we lead should first be a spiritual life. And we also should realize that we're close to death. Death can come at any time. So we prepare ourselves for the next life. Then Srila Prabhupada talks about holy places all over the world. They are meant for residential purposes for people who are retired, getting ready for a better life. Now, note that Srila Prabhupada said holy places all over the world. He didn't mention India only, or for that matter, Mayapur only, or Vrindavan only. He said holy places all over the world. My Guru Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, left the world at Gitanagari, Port Royal, Pennsylvania, United States. He didn't leave in India. He left here in the United States. So holy places all over the world are meant for retired persons to get residence and get ready for a better next life. So then we have to prepare the holy places for that. So this is an important message now that we're going to bring about by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and Madhu Maharaj. ISKCON is not that old compared to many significant organizations that have come in the past. It started around the mid 1960s. So it hasn't even done 100 years yet. It will be 2065 and ISKCON do 100 years. It hasn't. In fact, 2066, because it was 1966 that Srila Prabhupada actually registered International Society for Krishna Consciousness in New York City. So we haven't done 100 years yet. So ISKCON is young in terms of when Srila Prabhupada started it. Krishna Consciousness is forever, but this society is growing. And so many things need to get done. This part is also important. When the society started, there was one old man. As far as the physical body goes, it was only Srila Prabhupada. Everybody else was young. Now, those who are young are old. And we're looking at situations now that some are in different ashrams, some are Vanapras, and some are sannyasis. Some are spiritual masters, and some are not. And now, even the second generation, those from Prabhupada disciples, they are also taking up positions of the ashram all the way up to sannyas. What about this situation? The situation about preparing for the next life. Holy places all over the world are meant for residential purposes of retired persons getting ready for a better next life. This is quoting to the Prabhupada verbatim. Do we have those places? Holy places all over the world. The answer at this point is we should, it leans more towards no than yes, to put it mildly. I could have said just flat out no. But the fact of the matter is, for devotees, and many of the devotees have started thinking who are older, and I know some of them have come and asked me, because I live in this area, and at that time, some of them knew that I had lived in Girinagri for over 20 years before coming to Harrisburg area. What about Girinagri? Well, that's one place. There are so many other places. So Srila Prabhupada, when he writes these, then we have to think in terms of how to make it happen. Just like there is a Mayapur, and Mayapur is being developed, and so many things are happening there. Srila Prabhupada has talked about these other things too. Many persons should leave home and go to such holy places, but he also warns that we shouldn't get into bad association in the holy places and get into illicit connection with the opposite gender. Maya is never going to stop trying us. Maya will try everybody in that respect. Srila Prabhupada says the illusory energy of matter is so strong that one is likely to be under such illusion at every stage of our lives. So we should really associate more with people who are fixed up. Therefore, through that connection, then we'll stay safe and practice devotee life in the proper way. Control of the senses is extremely important. So Srila Prabhupada focuses especially in this purport on celibacy without the least desire for sex indulgence. Celibacy without the least desire for sex indulgence. So there are a number of things that need to be done. First of all, one of the ways in which we can think about sex desire and not make it so important in our lives is actually written again by Srila Prabhupada in the first text of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He quoted Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. That is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 1. towards the end of it, Srila Prabhupada says that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is indicating that the whole material creation is moving under the principle of sex life. So this modern civilization we have, sex life is a focal point for all activities. And I have seen, before I even became a devotee, I started questioning some of the things that the magazines were doing. Some of it was very shocking to me. And I won't name this magazine. It was not a magazine for sex life like Playboy and all of those. No, it was just a regular magazine. But they were advertising some things. And women's hair, hairstyles and so on were advertised. There were some pictures of, so you expect, of course, they would take beautiful women, at least those with beautiful faces, take pictures of the face and the hair and focus on that and the style of the hair. And that's enough. But we're talking about a commie magazine now. That's what I thought. They hadn't done that. They took a picture of a whole woman, beautiful woman, and semi-naked, that is wearing panties and bra. And they're advertising their hair. Now, why is there the need for all of that other parts of the body too? But that's what Sri Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is saying, that the material creation is moving under the principle of sex life just to get people into the mode of passion. So everywhere we turn our face, we see that that's predominant. Now, in Srimad Bhagavatam, in this purport, Srimad Bhagavatam 111, Srila Prabhupada says, material sex life is a perverted reflection of the original fact. And that the original fact is in the absolute truth, which means it's being Krishna. So we, as people, not knowing about that, the countries have pushed sex life to advertise things, everything more to passion. So then people are thinking of this perverted material sex life as the all in all. Every time there is a counterfeit coin, the counterfeit coin is there and sometimes can be used to buy things by people who may not know, or sometimes we counterfeit paper money. That's even there. Because the real thing is there. If the real thing wasn't there, the counterfeit could not be taken seriously. Everybody would know that that's not something that we can use. But the real thing is there. Therefore, the material world being a reflection and a perverted reflection of the real one. And sex life is here, it means that the real sex life is in the spiritual world. And so, Srila Prabhupada describes that we are having this type of lifestyle in a diseased material condition. There is spiritual sex life, not like this one. That's why there's a restriction that for us, the woman would get pregnant, and that's what you should do for babies. And after that, you stop. So the conclusion and the challenges that we face are, one, if we stay away from illicit sex life, we're halfway there. Because that's the one thing that is pushed a lot in this planet in so many ways. Even businesses use that to try to advertise. So staying away from illicit sex life is quite important. So once children are born to a grihastha couple, and the number of children that they want has been satisfied, sex life must stop. Now, the couple must help each other to abstain from sex life in this regard. Even if it means counseling is required, you should do that. Because this process is a serious process. For those who want to go back to Godhead, we need to fight every step of the way what Maya throws at us in order to get purified. Now, when we involve ourselves in steady devotional service and we occupy our time productively and pray for help with sense control, then we have a good chance to curb the desire for sex life. I'll say it again. Doing devotional service steadily. Remember, if we don't do much, that is an idle mind then. And as the saying goes, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So steady devotional service and even the material things that we do that's necessary, use that time productively. And then when we are weak, we can't do some things that they seem to be out of our control, what do? We pray for help. Therefore, prayer being one of the 9 processes too, for devotional service, we should have that combination and have serious praying for help with sense control. And that would help curb the desire. Krishna loves us very much. When we do some things, we're serving him, we're praying, we're chanting to the best of our ability in terms of focus. And then we ask for that kind of help in order that the regulated principles will be obeyed. Why would he turn that down? Now, as far as leaving and being in the retirement facilities, there is need now in ISKCON to build retirement facilities for all the older devotees in every down. Now, land which is close to the city, but not inside the city, this is one man's opinion, that's mine, it may be purchased and turned into a full down with deities and cows. If you hear what your Prabhupada is saying, this is actually quite important. Why do we say land close to the city but not inside the city? Because when there is medical help needed, when you're closer to the city, medical help is there. If you're too far away from the city, it becomes more difficult. So land outside of the city, so that it's not in the mode of passion, but more in the mode of goodness, but close to the city, so that when somebody needs to be taken in to a city hospital, it doesn't take too long to get that person, that arrangement to go. So that could be purchased. Now, facilities for older devotees should be built in those places. Some of the dams that are there now for ISKCON, some of them we lost, unfortunately, because they weren't managed well. But some of the dams that are there may not have facilities yet for retired people. Because many devotees at this point in the different dams are focusing on the renovation of temples or building nice, wonderful temples for the devotees. Yes, that's important. And also for Krishna, nice deities. This is happening all around this country. But these other points too are very, very important, retirement facilities. Now, in order to go on and be managed properly, these facilities, there should be some minimal monthly payment by the resident devotees. So grihastas that actually work, and after work, they are getting some help from the government, can then have some of that money donated or given on a regular basis for general upkeep and also medical help in such a place. Now, our sannyasis, people were thinking, oh, well, we're the leaders. Yeah, they are spiritual leaders. They're not the material leaders. The sannyasis are to lead us spiritually, just like Brahmins talk about things that are supposed to be done spiritually. Kshatriyas are the ones Kshatriyas and Vaishyas are the ones that run things on the material level. So we shouldn't expect sannyasis to be doing these things for us. Sannyasis are cared for everywhere they go. So they may not be inclined to discuss this matter. They're going to tell us things to do spiritually for things for our souls. But Srila Prabhupada cared on every level. And he said, these things, these retirement facilities should be in every down. So Grihastas and Vanapras should regard this as a priority. And in such facilities, another suggestion is that a few younger devotees must be employed to help with the responsibilities of running these retirement facilities. The older body can do only so much. So there should be younger devotees there too, specifically for help. And you can have temporary facilities for sannyasis to come and preach and then move on because they travel. They are Parivrajaka, the sannyasis that travel. They go to other temples. And for living in these places. The last point is we should live by principles for community living. It's very, very important, and I have to say, Bhakti Maharaj put some 4 points together, and I'll kind of paraphrase some of it. One, everywhere we are, we won't always agree on every point. So some disagreements may happen. And this is actually for everybody, even now. We don't have to be in a retirement home to begin to think like that. We have to discuss disagreements amicably. Don't do it in such a way that in the end you become an enemy to the person you're speaking to, or they become uncomfortable with you. No. The relationship must be maintained. A good relationship must be maintained. It's only a discussion. One has one idea, another one has another idea. They may not be the same, but you can have a debate about it, but a debate that you don't put the emotions behind and get upset about. Second point, that we should be aware that how we treat other devotees has a big bearing on our spiritual success. Therefore, we should not make devotees uncomfortable. We should not commit aparat. Aparat. Leaders can definitely point out things, and sometimes they have to put some energy behind when they're pointing out things that are needed to be changed. We're not talking about that. We're talking about that. Leaders play the role like coaches. Coaches sometimes have to be a little bit more emphatic on how they present things. Still, even leaders should not use words that put down other people. So how we treat devotees has a big bearing on whether we'll be successful spiritually or not. The spiritual world, next point, spiritual world is all about love. So we should practice loving each other. We have ones that we love the most, and we know, we have some experience about that, even though it's here in the material world. Project the same love on everybody. The love that you have for your most beloved on everybody. That way you begin to learn the way it is in the spiritual world, because that's exactly like that. Everybody is loved deeply by everybody else. And finally, we should be aware that those we are relating to now will most likely be the ones who will be around us when we're on our deathbeds. And speaking about that, the retired devotees themselves in the places of the dams when they build can be present around the deathbed of a dying older devotee to help him or help him to hear, help him or her, I should say, to hear the holy name. Even taking turns and chanting all day for that person to hear the holy name. Retired devotees have more time. They can be present around the deathbed of a person that's dying. Like that. And that way we help each other. And definitely men and women should be separated as far as their sleeping facilities. In order to avoid illicit connections, the men should be separated from the women with regard to sleeping facilities. But the rest of the day, they definitely can be around each other. So these are some points that we thought to put it out, since we have to be, as Sukadeva Goswami is saying, we have to prepare ourselves in the way that he has described it. So Srila Prabhupada is rooting for us to come home. And we have to, if we just follow what he says to do, we have a great chance of going back to Godhead. He's already given the mercy. And translated Srimad Bhagavatam, just like Sukadeva Goswami said, we practice self-control. Live in a sacred place. Bathe regularly. Sit down in the lonely place. Be duly sanctified. For us, we can have, as Srila Prabhupada is saying, a place where we can go in these facilities, retirement facilities, on dams, or make one. Because if we have extras, which one are we going to go to be? That may be there if they'll take if their situation is such that they'll take those who are retired and be part of the living conditions there. Many of these dams are not doing that right now. But ISKCON needs to spread anyway. So what's wrong with buying more land and getting that done? So we can do it. When there's a will, there's a way. That should be done. And then hopefully these points will be practiced so that we have a wonderful living retirement place on a dam and helping each other to go back to Godhead by how we behave and the service that we put in. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And let me make one point that don't think that, oh, I'm young, I haven't reached retirement age, therefore, this is not something I'm going to think about right now. You'll be surprised how quickly time moves. And if you know the time is going very fast, 2024 started yesterday, and we're already in April, which means everyone that's young will get to retirement age sooner than they think. It will come very, very, very quickly. And therefore, we all should be ready and help to get those retirement places on the dams or build a dam with a retirement place. Get that in place before you yourself get to retirement. So those who are grahastas should actually begin to look into that. Have discussions and choose places. Have so many points that people will bring up why we should have a certain place and why, the weather, so many things take into consideration. Plan it and then begin to build. And then it'll be easier for all of us when that time comes to just move there and go on, and you have a much bigger chance of going back to Godhead when those retirement places are set up. Shira Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much for allowing me to do this service. And now I think there is I'm looking at one chat there. Okay, I'll read. Want to see the Dasi? Okay, that's my wife. From Chandamali Swami, his class, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30, Text 8. This unity, this unity between individual souls is so strong within this material world that even in a society of Krishna consciousness, members sometimes appear disunited due to their having different opinions and leaning toward material things. Actually, in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be two opinions. There's only one goal, to serve Krishna to one's best ability. If there's some disagreement over service, such disagreement should be taken as spiritual. Well, Maharaj always has, ways in which he just gives wonderful advice. So, yeah, disagreement is there. And sometimes places, even cliques are formed, and that gets to a point where people that agree small class here and they disagree with this other one, and so many things have happened. But that's the young society. With that, with time, we will learn. We don't want to learn the hard way, but we'll learn somewhat, one way or the other, to relate properly. And that's what we're talking about. That when we even have disagreements, it should be settled amicably. The important point is I don't want the devotee to be an enemy of mine or feel very uncomfortable with me only because I have a point that is different from theirs. So we have to be, when we think about it, you have to use mild words, especially no words that insult. That's not good at all, because then the person, even if they have a point, they're committing Vaishnava Aparad because of the mood that they come across. Very, very important that we treat each other. Srimati Radharani is watching. We have to be heading for Krishna Prema. Well, Krishna Prema does not, this kind of behavior and Krishna Prema they go ill together. They don't go together well. So we have to be careful about how we behave and how we relate to other devotees. Hare Krishna. Thanks for the chat. And devotees, if you want to, chime in with realizations, some points about retirement, and how we prepare to go back home, back to Godhead. We're only here temporarily. Please unmute yourself and share some of your ideas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, August
Hare
Shashoka.
Krishna.
But interestingly, this I mean, sorry for joining late. I had to end another class with Chandramali Swami.
Mm,
But interestingly, he also spoke about, the final examination in his class this morning
mm,
that I was hosting, where he was saying that we should really take to our hearing and asking questions. From the verse that he spoke, he was really reiterating and stressing the point that how devotees, if we want to grow in Krishna consciousness, if we want to grow spiritually, we have to make sure that we are in the best association. And he said that the best association is our hearing. What did he say? I'm trying to get my notes up here. Is hearing and asking questions. He says, to the degree that we don't ask questions, to that degree, we're not growing, pretty much. So he was saying is in order for us to grow spiritually, in order for us to be in the best association, we always have to be hearing attentively, attentive listening, and always asking questions. Only then will we learn the right from wrong, the do's and don'ts, you know, something like, you're getting the point. But yeah.
yeah.
So he was saying that and because one devotee asked a question, when we are in the midst of devotee association in sadhu sangha, in anything, what should we do? What should our mood be? And Maharaj said we should always be hearing, attentive listening, and asking questions. Then we know that because we can just say, he said, okay, I've gone to a kirtan, I've gone to a lecture, but what did you hear? What did you ask? Did you hear anything? Did you ask any question? Because, we've also heard that if we don't ask, that is just like saying, I know it all. But then the behavior and the action is contradictory. So he was saying it's very important that we really look for the best association to prepare us for the final examination, because that's what's going to determine how our spiritual life will grow in the future, to prepare us for the final moment. Hare Krishna.
Very, very important. Thank you for sharing what Chandramali Swami talked about. As you were talking, I was also remembering the lectures that I attended when we were at Gitanagri, and especially a lot of it were by Bhakti Swami because he was a resident guru there at that time, and whenever he came, he gave classes, and we listened to the classes. But when it came questions time and people asked questions, that's when we understood the class even better because it became a little more clear to us. And so, little buddies, this is wherever we go, not just here only or on the Zoom class. The more you ask questions for clarity, the better things become to you. So open up here on Zoom. If not, open up to senior devotees that you know. You have some things in the back mind. Don't keep it. If you keep things that you're not sure about or you want answers to, you keep it to yourself. You don't know it, and if you don't know it, you can't grow from it. And to that extent, you're getting stuck. And so it is important. We're not pushing that you have answers. I mean, I have questions that if you don't ask a question here, you've done something wrong. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that if something is not clear at the back of your mind and it's there, you need to have the answers for it, and you have to take the initiative to ask the question. And when you ask the question, the advantage to it is everybody gets to listen to it that's hearing the class, and we all benefit. We benefit from it. So much so that, and other thing about asking questions, sometimes people would think, oh, but if I talk about my weakness, people will know how weak I am in this place, and in spiritual life, and it's embarrassing. But there's a way to do it. You put it in the third gender, the third place. If somebody is feeling so and so and so and so, you don't have to say it's you. If somebody is feeling so and so and so and so, or that I heard about some of these things happening here, what can we do about that situation? Ask your question Mm? Some people find it difficult to say, I'm having this weakness. No, sometimes you could say, well, I was brought up this way. And so is that right? Or what should I do now? Or somebody else I've seen is acting like that. Mm? Or I've seen a general trend about devotees acting a certain way. You may be part of it, but if it's embarrassing to you, you don't have to say it's you. You don't. But the question has to be put out though, so that the answers can come to, be discussed. Then you get to know more. You get to know more. The more you hide a weakness, the less you grow in Krishna consciousness. The more you hide, the less growth you're gonna get. Mm. So if you're not somebody around where you are in your immediate area that can answer your questions, you still need to connect these days electronically. You can connect people all over the world. There has to be someone you go to, but open up and talk about what is happening in your family, in your own relationship, sometimes at work, everywhere we go, bring it up. If you don't have answers, solutions to those that seems to be wrong and you can't find a way out, it's time to talk about it to someone, and get the answers so you can go on. You pray about it, Krishna will direct you to somebody to get the answers mm, to these things. Hare Krishna. Anyone else would like to unmute? We still have some time. It's past the hour, but we still can, take questions or share realizations or connections to the scriptures. But retirement life is for all of us. We prepare now. We will
Radhapad
not.
Prabhu has something to say.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Radha
Prabhuji, Mataji, humble wishes, all the Krishna Prabhupada.
Yeah,
But
go
the
Shri
whole purport is so strong, Prabhupada is mentioning, like, it seems like, I feel like, truth is always bitter. Like how Prabhupada is actually mentioning, the life is
I
actually,
know what you mean. Go
yeah.
ahead.
So this life is like a preparation for the next life. So in
Mm,
the purport that, Prabhupada is mentioning that how strongly in the next life, person who are too attached to family comforts are generally awarded lower species of life on account of sinful acts performed during a long duration of sinful life. And
hmm
thus all the energy of the human life is spoiled. This is really, really, I mean, strong, way that Prabhupada already told, and we should understand how we have to make our this life useful for the next life, that we should not come into this, material world to come into that. Now,
mm,
again, like a punarapi marana, punarapi janama, punarapi janami jatares sayana, again, barambar, like again and again, we come into this world and material life, without this. And so it's very, very good class that you point that our temple is the proper that said our temple is the embassy of the spiritual world.
mm,
That definitely that is how Prabhupada actually built the temples all over the world. And that is how Prabhupada said, all the holy places all over the world. Actually, that devotee actually makes that holy place all over the world when they bring Krishna in this world. So I think that's a very good point, and we should be very much careful how we spend our life in this life. Yeah, I like Prabhupada has said that 50 is, at the age of 50, we should leave home, this and that. I mean, at this time, like at this, like a modern time, we are all busy, till 60, 65, 67, we work hard to maintain our family life, to maintain our body, or everything. So it feels like, we are already lost, but still, because by the, mercy of pure devotees, we at least got to know about Krishna consciousness, and we are practicing somehow or other, and that's why sadhu sangha is very, very important. And so we go to the temple, we chant, as much as possible. We engage in the devotion service. So all this thing by the mercy of the pure devotees, we have to
mm.
save the whole world.
Yeah. Thank you very much for these points. It's very, very important points, takeaways that you took from the purport. And we all, I know Prabhupada mentioned 50, at the age of 50, you need to slow down and begin to look at, retirement then. And of course, when you're in the United States, the retirement is 65, 66 is with 15 years or so past 50. before, well, according to these Kami laws, and you slow down and then some benefits are given and so on. Yeah, that's the way they've said it. But Srila Prabhupada has written these books and these comments for the next 10,000 years. So we are going to take some of it and try to grow to the extent that we can with it until it gets to a point where it's actually being practiced exactly how he said to do it. Yeah, there's challenges. But it does not mean that we stop. Everything that we do first comes from the mind first. So when we're aware that this has been put, that's why Sri Papa has written it. Okay. And then you'll see that time will come. We're in Kali Yuga. Life is going to get shorter and shorter, shorter and shorter and shorter. And it's going to get to a point where people retire even before they're 50 years old because you just don't live that long anyway. So that time is also coming. But as long as we're serving, putting energy into serving devotionally, serving devotees, serving Guru, and serving the deities, then the mercy of the Lord will come. The Papa has given us so much mercy, but he's also prepared us for the future. Hare Krishna. Thank you for any other comments?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other comments? If not, then there's plenty of food for thought in this purport. That's Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, Text 16. So let's take what we've learned from Srila Prabhupada seriously and prepare for our future, to prepare to go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So much. Hare Krishna. Glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Glory to Srila Prabhupada.